Hello, friends, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast today. In a few moments, we're going to take you into a live session where Bishop Wayne was teaching a message designed to feed your faith and to elevate your understanding. We invite you to join in as if you were here in person and to light up the chat box with your comments and confirmations. This hour of power is your time to recharge, to renew, and even to reset your mind for a life of purpose, passion, and power. At the end of this message, we have an important announcement for you. So do stay tuned. But now let's go into the hour of power with Bishop Wayne Malcolm.
So, here's the outline. I'm going to kick off with some context for the concept. I'm going to talk about the law of recognition, keys and seeds. Ask and it shall be given. Have you ever noticed that when Jesus said, ask and it shall be given, he followed up by saying, for everyone that asks receives, and whoever seeks finds, and to him that knocks it shall be open. In other words, that prayer, that ask, seek, knock, was never kind of a hit and miss affair. It would always work every time without fail. And I'm going to show you exactly how and why. It always works every time without fail. Ask and it shall be given. I want to talk about more than enough. Economic theory. There are two opposing economic theories. The scarcity syndrome, the 10th commandment, and God's integrity. And if you're already excited about what we're going to deal with, please do light up the chat box. Let me know that this is up your street. This is what you're praying about. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're contemplating, what you're meditating right now. So some context for the concept as follows. The fall of man occurred when the serpent shifted his focus. Okay, so the fall of man, and when I say man, I'm not speaking about Adam or Eve. I'm speaking about humanity because God called their name Adam. It is Adam that called his wife Eve. So when I speak about the original man, I'm talking about mankind, okay? I'm not being gender specific. So the fall of man occurred when the serpent shifted his focus. I want you to know that the enemy is at work in your life, not in the things you might think he's in, not up to what you might think he's up to. Primarily, he wants to break your focus. Because if he can break your focus, he can secure your fall. I'm going to say that again. If the devil can break your focus, he can secure your fall. How do I know this? I know this because in Genesis 3, which documents the fall of man from his authority, from his pristine, privileged, blessed, bountiful, abundant paradise, his fall from favor into labor, it all started with the breaking of his focus, the shift of his focus. So the fall of man occurred when the serpent shifted his focus from the abundance he had to the thing he lacked. My word, my word. I feel like we've already done it tonight. So if the devil can get you to shift your focus from what you already have to what you think you lack, then he can secure your fall. And this is documented in the Genesis because Genesis is the book of origins, the book of beginnings. And if you want to understand the nature of a phenomenon, then you need to start where it started and go back to the beginning. And when you go back to the beginning will reveal something to you about its nature, its character, its characteristics, its style. And if you want to understand the serpent, right, then you go back to the beginning, and what you find is that the serpent fundamentally invades spaces through conversations, by initiating conversations, by making suggestions, which if entertained become scenarios or movies in your mind, which if viewed often enough become a psychological stronghold. And so the strategies of the serpent is not so much to haunt your house, but to haunt your mind, your thoughts. And what the enemy did in the beginning was to break Adam's focus from all the abundance that God had already given to him to the one thing that was forbidden to him. And so he moved from an abundance mindset to a scarcity, a lack mindset. And let's read it. Now the serpent was more subtle than, or crafty is what it means, than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So notice he's already twisting the words of God, because God never said you shouldn't eat of every tree. Did God say you shouldn't eat of every tree? God said the exact opposite, actually. So here he is twisting the word, confusing the word. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And then, of course, if you read on into verse 4, the enemy, goes from confusing what God said to literally contradicting what God said. And he goes in and says, now you will not surely die. In other words, that's the accusation, the allegation, the attack on the integrity of God, where he says God is lying to you. God is not telling you the truth. God cannot be trusted. And you need to trust me instead of trusting God. Now, that was the fall of man. That's how man fell. That's how people fall today. They entertain a conversation that breaks their focus from the abundance that God has made available to them to the one thing they lack, they think they lack, the thing that's forbidden. So, here's the big lesson. The failure to recognize and value what you already have is the key to losing it all. My word, that was a word for someone. Someone needs to be shouting in the chat box. And someone needs to be screaming right now. Because I've just given you the number one reason why people fail to maximize their moment, to realize their potential, to reach the summit of Mount Achievement. The number one reason why people go down the social economic scale as opposed to climbing up it incrementally until those incremental steps become monumental gains. The number one reason is the failure to recognize and value what you already have. If you fail to recognize and value, attach value, significance, to realize and respect what it is you already have, that is the key to losing it all. And I'm going to give you Matthew 13, verse 12 here. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given. But he shall have more abundance. More what? Abundance. More what? Abundance. Why is he going to have more abundance? Because he has something. He has something. Whoever has it is going to get more of it and more of it and more of it. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. So I want you to notice the paradox in the phrase. Whoever has not, from him shall be taken even that he hath. So hold on a second. If he doesn't have anything, then there's nothing to take away. Quite clearly, he had something, otherwise there'd be nothing to take away. He had something, so who is it that said he has not? It's him. It's you that says, I don't have. And when you start to say, I don't have, you are blind to what you do have. You're failing to recognize the abundance that God has already made available to you. You're failing to realize that you are surrounded by seeds and keys and opportunities for prosperity. And because you don't recognize or value what you already have, you say, I don't have anything, which means you're calling your something nothing. And when you start calling your something nothing, you lose the something that you had. The fact is, he did have something. He just didn't realize it. He didn't recognize it. He didn't value it. He had something, and because he called his something nothing, he lost the thing that he had. Whereas this other person who says, I have something. I have something. Now, he may be looking at what looks like nothing, but because he's called his nothing something, he gets more of the thing. Woo! Because he's called his nothing something, he gets more of the thing. He has more abundance because he has recognized the something that he has, the little something that he has, he realizes is the key to everything else he desires. The little something that he has, he recognizes as a seed for the harvest that he wants to produce. So he calls it something. He values it. He recognizes it. He's grateful for it. Thank you, God. Instead of being bitter and angry with God and saying, God hasn't given me anything, this person has conducted a personal internal audit and turned around and said, actually, God has given me something. And the something God has given to me is the key to everything else God has promised me. The something God has given to me is the seed for the harvest that God has purposed for me. So the lesson here is that if you call your something nothing, you lose everything. But if you call your nothing something, you gain everything. Listen to me, you are never down to nothing. It's very important that you realize God has not forsaken you. God has not abandoned you. God has not left you without a way, a root, a seed, a key. You have it. You have it. And the failure to recognize and value what you already have is the key to losing it all. So guess what I've decided? I've decided I'm not going to be ungrateful. Even when it feels like I'm down to nothing, even when it feels like, everything is working against me, I'm not going to be ungrateful. I'm going to look for what I do have, and I'm going to practice gratitude. I'm going to thank God for life. I'm going to thank God for strength. I'm going to thank God for my health. I'm going to thank God for my mental health. I'm going to thank God for family. I'm going to thank God for friends. I'm going to thank Him for skill sets that I have, abilities that I have, things I've learned, knowledge that I have. I'm going to thank Him for all the things that life can't take away from me. Life can't take away your knowledge or your skills. I'm going to thank Him for my testimony. I'm going to thank Him for His promises. I'm going to thank Him. I'm going to be thankful and grateful because the people who are bitter and twisted and ungrateful and unhappy are the people who are focused on what they don't have, as opposed to the people who are grateful who are focused on what they do have. See, right now, you're going to have more faith and focus on what you don't have, or you're going to have faith and focus in what you do have. I have chosen, is there anyone else that has chosen to focus on what I do have and have the faith that what I do have is enough to get me to where I want to go? Can I hear an amen from somebody? Can I see some fire in the chat box? Watch this carefully. Something you already have from God is the key to everything else God has promised you. Something you already have from God is the key to everything else God has promised you. Let's read this in 2 Kings chapter 4. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord. And the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? What do you have in the house? And she said, Thy handmaid has not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Wow and wow. So this is an epic story, and I challenge you to read the whole story because it's loaded with lessons, it's packed with principles, and it is complete with a strategy for victory over every economic adversity, tribulation, and trial. Woo! So this woman is in debt. Her husband has left her in debt. He's died, unfortunately, and he's left her a widow in debt. The creditors have come chasing his debts, and if they don't get the money, they're going to take her sons. And of course, she lived in an age and a culture in which economic prosperity relied on the presence of a man in your life. Whether that was a father, whether that was a husband, or whether that was a son, it relied on the presence of a man in your life. And the fact is that if her two sons were taken, that's the end. She's like literally in poverty and reduced to the status of a beggar. And she cries to the prophet, Elisha. But Elisha doesn't give her a handout. Now, it seems to me that she was asking for a handout. It seems to me that she was asking for some money. And what Elisha did, and what the prophetic typically does, is not give the handout, but give the hand up. You see, the hand out is when I give you a fish. And if I give you a fish, I feed you for a day. But the hand up occurs when I teach you how to fish, because if I teach you how to fish and I give you a boat, a net, and a skill set, then I have fed you for life. And that's a hand up to where you're standing on your own 2 feet and you're walking on your own 2 feet and you're earning a living for yourself. So the prophetic doesn't give the hand out. The prophetic gives the hand up. And what Elisha said to her was, look, start where you are with what you have. My word, that's a word for somebody. Start where you are with what you have. The fact is you have something, and the something you have is the key to everything else that you desire. So the prophet turned her attention inwards, because sometimes, my friends, when you're looking out, it's bleak, it's dark, it's distressing when you're looking out for help. But if you look in and conduct that internal audit to figure out what it is I actually do have, and it may be a skill set, it may be a bank of knowledge and experience, it could be expertise in a particular field, it could be leverage through relationship and friendships. It could be your unwavering faith, courage, tenacity, resilience. What do you have in the house? Now, I want you to notice what she said. She said, I don't have anything except a pot of oil. Now, I'd be honest with you, if I was that pot of oil, I would be offended. I'd be offended because she's called me nothing. She's effectively called me nothing. And, or she's put me in the category of nothing. And I would have said to her, hold on a second. Everything left you, everyone left you, but I stayed. I'm here. I have value. I have significance. I'm just waiting for you to recognize and realize that I am the answer to your prayers. I'm just waiting for you to realize that God hasn't left you without an opportunity, without a seed, without a key. So don't call me nothing and don't put me in the category of nothing, because I'm about to change your life. That's what I'd have said to the woman. But thankfully, pots cannot speak. So the prophet spoke. And he basically taught her how to turn her pot of oil into a business. Wow and wow. Yep, she started a business with a pot of oil. She started a business where she was with what she had, because something you already have from God is the key to everything else God has promised you. It is simply awaiting your recognition. And the reason why we fail to recognize the value of the things we have, the little things we have, is because keys don't look like the doors they open. And seeds don't look like the crops they yield. Okay, so we're very visual, we're very aesthetic, and we want to see things with our natural eye. Whereas the Bible says that we walk by faith and not by sight. In other words, we see things in our mind's eye. We see things in the theater of our imagination. We see things, we watch movies that were made by our faith, and we walk by faith in what God has said. And not by sight, by what we can physically see. Because what we can physically see belongs to the natural physical world. What we hear from God belongs to the spiritual world or to a higher court. And miracles happen, my friend. Miracles happen when natural laws are temporarily suspended, being overruled by a higher spiritual court. I'm going to say it again. A miracle occurs when natural laws are temporarily suspended because they were overruled by a higher court. That is the spiritual world, which is a higher court. The heavens rule means that the heavens, the spiritual realm, is a higher court. And if a judgment is made in your favor at a higher level, then everything in the natural order must bend and bow to that spiritual judgment. And so we like to walk by sight, whereas God said, look, Abraham, walk before me and be perfect. That's what he said to Abraham, walk before me. Well, if you're going to walk in front of God, then you can't see God in front of you, but you can hear God behind you. You see, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If you want to increase your faith, sometimes you have to close your eyes and open your ears, because the faith is coming by what you hear at a deep level. What you hear with your inner ear. You know, if any man has an ear to hear, let him hear. That ear is not the physical ear, it's your inner ear. And once you start hearing God at a profound spiritual level, that faith will make a new movie in your mind so that you will see with your imagination what you are yet to see with your eyes. And you will know that it's a matter of time before you see with your eyes what you are seeing with your mind. I know I'm helping someone today. I just need that person to start shouting and screaming in the chat box. It's a matter of time before you see with your eyes what you can see in your mind. The fact is that keys and seeds, they don't look like the opportunity they represent. They don't look like, keys don't look like the doors they open. They don't look like the machines and the engines they start. And seeds don't look like the harvest and the crops that they yield. But they are the key to everything else that you desire. Now, until you recognize, realize, and respect the key potential and the seed power of the things you already possess, you will go without. In other words, when you look into your life, when you look in the house, and the prophetic says to you, what do you have in the house? You need to realize that the little thing is a key. The little thing is a seed. The little thing has key potential. The little thing has seed power. So stop thinking of it as a little thing. Think of it as a big thing, as a great thing. Become grateful for it and thank God for this little thing that you have, because it's the key to everything else that God has promised you. Let me tell you something. If I wanted to give you a car, if I wanted to give you a brand new car, if I wanted to give you a prestigious, luxury, brand new, high-end car, well, I simply cannot drop it on your lap. If I drop it on your lap, it will kill you. If I put it in your, you can't lift it, so I can't put it in your hand. The only way I can give you that car is to give you the keys and tell you where the car is. The moment I give you the keys and I tell you where the car is, I have given you the car, because I've given you the location and I've given you the authority to drive it away, to take it wherever you want to take it. And so sometimes we're asking God for things that he simply cannot put in our lap. It will kill us. He simply cannot drop it on you. He can't put it in your hand. But what he can do is he can give you the key and tell you its exact location. And once God gives you the keys and tells you the location, he has given you the thing. He has given you the thing. See, this widow wanted the ability to pay her debts. She wanted money to pay her debts. What the prophet gave her was the key to money, the seed for a harvest of money, because fundamentally, the rest of the story goes that she was to go borrow vessels, as many as she could, bring them into the house, close the door, and pour the oil by faith. And as she poured, she realized she had an endless supply. In fact, her supply was only limited by the size of her imagination and by the number of pots she was able to secure from friends, family, neighbors, and networks. So it was limited by the size of her network. But the oil itself would have kept on going had she had more pots. Then the prophet said, go sell the oil. Sell it. What? Sell it. You mean there are people ready to give me money for this oil? You mean there's a monetary value on this oil? You mean the very thing that I was overlooking, undermining, disregarding, not considering, the very thing that I devalued and debased, there's people out here ready to pay for it. What? There's people out here looking for it. 1 second. Okay, it takes a while for it reloads. There's people out here searching online in order to find it. And here am I disregarding it instead of packaging it, pricing it, positioning it, and promoting it. See, your oil could be the knowledge or the know-how, the wisdom or the life lessons that God gave you that would help someone else break through a barrier that they're currently blocked by, survive a storm that they're currently sinking in. You may have a little bit of advice, wisdom, knowledge, experience, or expertise in a field that you don't think is valuable, but there are people online searching for solutions in that field, ready to buy it. If only you would package it, put your oil in a vessel. Now, those of you that have done my Name Equity Secrets Masterclass and my Wisdom to Wealth Masterclass, you'll know what I mean by packaging your wisdom, because your wisdom is like water, and you can't sell water unless you put it in the bottles. So you got to package your message. And of course, I teach people how to package their message and price it and promote it. The point is that I'm seeing over the years more and more people who didn't realize that they actually had value in their life, that, didn't recognize the value they had, and were instead focusing on the things they didn't have, moaning and groaning, griping, complaining, miserable, unhappy, and ungrateful because they felt like I don't have anything, when actually you did have something, and there were thousands of people wanting to buy it if only you would package it, price it, promote it. Woo! So until you recognize, realize, and respect the key potential and seed power of the things you already have, you're going to go without. And this is why ask and it shall be given you works every time without fail. Okay? Jesus said, ask and it shall be given you. He didn't say ask and it might. He didn't say seek and you may find, knock and it might be open to you. He went on to say, everyone that asks receives, and to him that seeks finds, and him that knocks, it is always open. The reason why I can say that God always answers these prayers for help, always, without fail. The reason why I can say it, even though someone's going to say to me, I asked God for help and nothing happened. I prayed and nothing happened. I don't pray anymore because when I prayed, nothing happens. Instead, I try to do something practical. I've heard all of that, but you're wrong. God always answers this prayer. Your problem is that you don't recognize the answer. Because you don't recognize the answer, because it didn't come the way you wanted it, how you wanted it, packaged the way you wanted it, you didn't even realize it was God answering your prayers. For example, the little pot of oil actually was God's answer to this woman's prayers. See, we don't, but if you don't recognize, or value the answer God gives you, it's going to feel like God never answered your prayers. Okay? So I guess that for all of us, perception is reality. Okay? Our perception is our reality. And so if you do not perceive the answer to your prayer, you do not recognize the answer to your prayer, then of course your prayers weren't answered. But if you perceive and understand the way God answers prayers for help, you'll realize that he answered you every time. So you may feel like you're down to nothing. Guess what? You're never down to nothing. In fact, when you're down to nothing, God's up to something. And this means that something is going on that you're failing to realize, that you're failing to recognize. If you find yourself in a situation where, look, it's not working, business not growing, not making sales, not generating leads, things are not happening for me, eating into my reserves, down to nothing, gonna have to close this business. If that's what's going on, there's something you're failing to recognize, something you're failing to realize, something you are yet to perceive, and it is the answer to your prayers for help. See, if you ask God for open doors, what God is going to give you is a set of keys. Wow, you ask God for open doors, he's going to give you keys. You ask God for harvest, he's going to give you seed. You ask God for things, he's going to give you thoughts. You ask God for victory, he's going to give you a strategy. You ask God for prosperity, he'll give you a plan. And so, because the plan is the key to the prosperity, the strategy is the key to victory, the thoughts are the keys to the things, and the seed is the key to the harvest, and the keys are the opening of the doors. So God has already given you everything you will ever need in the form of seeds and keys. God answers our help requests in the form of seeds and keys. Remember, seeds don't look like the harvest they produce. Keys don't look like the doors they open. They look small. They look irrelevant. They look insignificant. But you have to recognize their potential, their power, their value. And this brings me to the abundance mindset that we have to replace scarcity with. There is more than enough for you to have more than enough. When you've had more than enough, there will still be more than enough left over. Because God created an abundant world in which there's more than enough for everyone to have more than enough. When everyone has had more than enough, there'll still be more than enough left over. If you want proof for this, it's Matthew 14, verses 20 to 21. When Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fish and fed a multitude. Now, how many did he feed? Well, we're going to read it. And they did all eat and were filled. So they didn't all have a bite. They were all filled. They couldn't eat anymore. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. So there was more than enough left over. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men beside women and children. So plus women and children. There was potentially an audience of up to 20,000 people who all ate and were filled. And when they had all had enough, there was more than enough left over. God is an abundant God. He doesn't want you scraping around for just enough. He actually wants to deliver us from the just enough mindset. And a lot of us get out of the not enough, but we get into just enough and settle. Just enough is not where you are to settle. It's not where you park. It is not your portion. Your portion is abundance and more than enough. Your portion is surplus. Your portion is baskets of leftovers. Your portion is that my cup runneth over. What does it mean to run over? It means it's filled, it's full, but he just keeps on filling it up because my cup runs over. Well, if it runs over, isn't it a waste? No, it's not a waste because it runs over generationally. It runs over to the third and the fourth generation. Your cup must be filled, and the third and the fourth generation of your bloodline must actually benefit from this cup of prosperity and abundance that God has filled to overflow. Woo! This is the abundance mindset, more than enough. And what fights against that abundance mindset is economic theory. All right? So economics, I guess, is devoted to the study of ways to manage limited resources. Okay? The underlying assumption is that resources are limited. They have to be allocated wisely. They have to be managed so that we can do the most good for the most people given the limited resources that we have. Now, all sounds great, but that's what we call grocery store economics. It's grocery store economic theory. And I've got a picture of a grocery store. So what you'll see is that if I take an item off the shelf, there's going to be one less. If I take all the items in a particular category off the shelf, then there's none left. And if I take any items off the shelf, there's just not enough for others who want those items. This is grocery store economics. Grocery store economics relies on scarcity. And it explores ways to manage and allocate limited resources. It raises prices based on limited supply. The idea is that consumption leads to lack. So the idea here is, look, if I'm getting, someone else is losing. Right? And the more I have, the less there is for others to have. So that my appetite is creating the problem. And you see this economic theory. It's kind of rampant in universities. It's rampant in youth culture as well. And it's rampant in cultures and ideas that despise the rich and despise the wealthy. Blame the billionaires for everything that's going wrong in the world. Blame the millionaires. Because the idea is that you are rich at someone else's expense. That if you become rich, it means that others have to be poorer. The richer you get, the poorer others become. And then this blame game starts. Okay, I'm going to dive into that in a bit more detail in a moment. The original economic theory is garden economics, Garden of Eden economics. And in the Garden of Eden, Adam was encouraged to eat freely from the fruit of all the fruit-bearing trees. Eat freely the fruits. And there was one tree of which he was forbidden to eat. But it's a garden. It's a forest. Okay? It's a jungle. It's just got so many trees, so many fruit-bearing trees. And there's so much abundance for you to focus on. And when you realize how abundant you are, the forbidden fruit loses its temptation. It loses its magnetic pull, its attraction. It loses it because I'm focused on all the abundance that I have available. Now, please notice that in the original garden, the original economic principle was that you may eat freely from all of the fruit-bearing trees. Now, if you eat the fruit from a tree. What you do not eat is the seed. So the seed in the fruit will not produce another tree, but the seed in the ground will produce another tree. So the more you eat, Adam, is the more trees this garden is going to produce. And the more trees is the more fruit, so that your consumption in the garden leads to greater production and more abundance for more people. And the best thing you could do for everyone else that you plan to populate the world with is eat as much fruit as you can. Eat the fruit, because the more you consume is the more you are producing. That's garden economics. That's the Edenic principle of economics. Garden economics relies on abundance, in which every fruit consumed produces more trees. The idea is that the more you have, the more there will be, because consumption leads to more production. Now, why is it important that we know this? It's important because the scarcity syndrome is dangerous. Grocery store economic syndrome is dangerous because it splits us, it divides us. As follows. Number one, it creates competition. If there's not enough to go around, then we'll end up competing for the same space. Now, competition isn't a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if we're competing for the exact same position and space. Whereas God has given to every man a unique place and space. And in your unique place and space, and with your unique grace for your unique place and space, you have no competition. You don't need to feel insecure by someone else winning, someone else succeeding. You don't need to feel intimidated by someone else's success, because your success is in your space, your place, with your grace. Because God has allocated you a Garden of Eden. That's your place. And it is an abundant place. So what we don't do is look over at someone else and decide, I'm going to compete with them. Because the only person I'm really competing with right now is the person I was yesterday. I want to outdo him. The only person I'm competing with right now is a lesser version of me. And when you're competing with yourself, guess what? You grow. You become a better person today than you was yesterday. Instead of competing with another person because you feel like their win is your loss. They're winning, therefore you're losing. They're gaining, therefore they're rising, therefore you're falling. That's the scarcity syndrome. And it makes it impossible for you to celebrate someone else's win. Which brings me to the envy. Hate, jealousy, covetousness, and envy are all symptoms of the scarcity syndrome. If you want what I have, it's proof you don't see what you have already been given by God. I'm going to say it again. If you want what I have, it's proof that you don't see what you've already been given by God. So where does hating come from? And envy and jealousy and covetousness comes from the scarcity syndrome that says, actually, the fact that you have this and I don't have this, is why I'm jealous of you. The fact that you're jealous means you don't realize, recognize, or value what God has already planted in your field of potential. Because if you did, you would stop saying, I want his house, her house. So I want mine. Okay? I don't want your car. I want my car. I don't want your business. I want my business. I don't want your brand. I want my brand. I want mine. Because God gave me something. Number 3, it leads to this win-lose. Your win is my loss. Okay? Your rise is my fall. And this happens when people start looking at other people's Instagram and comparing their reality with someone else's movie. Because what you're looking at on Instagram or in any of these platforms is a movie, complete with makeup, lights, camera, action. It's an act. It's a scene. It's a scene. It's a movie. Those pictures were deliberately selected from among many, sometimes filters added to make it look even more beautiful than it is. And you're here comparing your reality with someone else's movie and feeling like their winning means you're losing. Okay? Or feeling like my win is someone else's loss. And so you get into this, well, I need to give back. I'm doing this so I can give back. I need to give back because I've taken so much from society. I need to give back. Let me tell you something. If you're doing well as an entrepreneur, you haven't taken from society. You have blessed society. You've created jobs. You've stimulated the economy. You've allowed other families to put food on their table. You've given them hope and a vision and seed capital to start investing. You have added value to the marketplace. Where is this? What are you giving back? Now, people who think like this have been led to believe you took something. You took something by creating these jobs. You took something by creating opportunity. You took something by innovating, by creating, a technology, a system. You took no. You gave. And by all means, the Bible has a special blessing for the generous who give over and above what they have already given, but not from a mindset that I owe this because I took. What you did, see this mindset, it actually ladens successful people with guilt. And if I had time, I'd show you why that's totally unbiblical. The 10th commandment says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, wife, servants, ox, donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. Why should you not covet your neighbor's stuff? Because the grass is not greener on the other side. God has planted a garden of greatness around you, and he's planted you in that garden. It will emerge around you as you recognize, respect, and release its full potential. Every man is given a field of potential, a field of human potential in which God has planted you. You must focus on your field, cultivate your field, populate your field with products, services, opportunities, events. Populate your field with visitors, customers, clients. Populate your field and dominate your field. It's your field. And your field is the only place of your prosperity. As long as you're focusing on someone else's field, you cannot prosper because all the seeds, God planted the garden eastward in Eden. He didn't plant the garden somewhere else. Adam, if you want to prosper, you need to go where you need to grow roots where you are planted and understand that God planted in the place of your planting a garden of absolute abundant prosperity. It's your field. Okay. You're never down to nothing. Something you have is the key to everything else you will ever need. If what you have doesn't meet your need, then it is your seed. The scarcity syndrome is fundamentally an attack on God's integrity. Look, if there's not enough, then God cannot supply all your needs. But the Bible says that God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Simply means, how can there not be enough? How can there not be enough? Look, there is enough money for you to be a millionaire many times over. There's enough land for you to cultivate. There's enough, you say, oh, my business sector's overcrowded and, the market is saturated and, there's just, all my competitors already have all of my customers. You are thinking with a scarcity syndrome. That syndrome is blocking your blessing. What you instead need to say is there's some wonderful activity already happening in this sector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to innovate, and through creative conquest, I'm going to carve out a new niche within this sector, and I'm going to do it. And it may be a disruptive technology. It may be a disruptive business model. It may be a difference in the way that I serve people, that I'm going to bring my difference into this space. I'm going to make a difference because I'm going to be the difference, and I'm going to do it different. And it's going to be a wonderful space. And I'm glad there are so many people already operating in this space, because it's proof, it's evidence that there is real demand for what I'm about to supply. And I'm going to supply it with such a difference that I'm going to claim a share, a slice of this market. Or I'm going to create an entirely new one, and it's going to be an abundant place for me. That mindset keeps you moving forward. That mindset is an abundance mindset that says there is more than enough for all of us in this space to have more than enough. And when we've had more than enough, there will still be more than enough left over.
I want to speak to a very specific kind of person today. Someone who knows deep down that they are called to more. Someone who feels the pull of purpose, the tug of destiny, and the whisper of God saying, I gave you the power to get wealth. Now it's time to use it. Wealth is not an accident. Wealth is not a talent. Wealth is not a gift that falls out of the sky. Wealth is a revelation. And until that revelation is activated in you, you will keep working harder while watching others rise higher. That's why I created the Power to Get Wealth Challenge. This challenge is for kingdom entrepreneurs who are ready to move beyond survival, beyond struggle, beyond sweat and stress, and step into the divine pattern of supernatural prosperity. Because here's the truth. If God has a will for you to be wealthy, then God must also have a way for you to become wealthy. And his way is nothing like the world's way. In this challenge, I'm going to show you 4 revelations that every kingdom entrepreneur must master. First, how to deconflict wealth and settle the matter of God's will once and for all. Until that question is settled, nothing in your financial life will feel stable. Second, how to activate your spiritual bank account by aligning your beliefs, emotions, behavior, and identity with abundance. Third, how to turn creativity into currency, creating value equal to the income you expect. And fourth, activate the favor formula where God himself reveals you, draws the right people to you, and convicts them of your value. This is not theory, this is not hype. This is the spiritual intelligence behind every major breakthrough you've been praying for. And here's the important part. For this challenge, there are only 12 seats at the table. These are the people who will get direct access to me for live coaching, your questions, your business, your revelation, your breakthroughs. If you want me to speak into your assignment personally, this is your opportunity. Once the 12 seats are taken, they're gone. Everyone else is welcome to sit in the gallery and watch the coaching, but only seat at the table participants get the intimate, high-touch experience. And as a bonus, those who register at any level will receive a free audiobook copy of my brand new book, Kingdom Economics. If you know this challenge is for you, if you feel that leap in your spirit, if you know that 2026 demands a new version of you, spiritually, strategically, and financially, then this is your moment to act. Do not wait, do not delay. Do not watch others take the seats that belong to you. Click the link, apply for your seat at the table. Let's unlock the power to get wealth together. I'll see you inside.
What if everything you've been taught about money, prosperity, and God's intention for the earth has been too small, too narrow, and totally disconnected from the original plan? What if your struggle has never been about your potential, but about your perspective? And what if the real economy, the one God designed before the foundations of the world, has been waiting for you to discover it? Well, that's why I wrote Kingdom Economics. And before this book is released to the world, I want to give you an opportunity to get ahead of everyone else, to join the waiting list and to be among the first to access a revelation that is going to redefine how you see wealth, work, stewardship, and purpose. Kingdom Economics is not another book about money. It's a prophetic blueprint. It's the rediscovery of God's original purpose for global prosperity. the prosperity of nations, families, and kingdom citizens. It'll show you that God has a purpose, a plan, and a process for your increase, and that everything He designed for you begins with alignment, not anxiety. From Eden to Abraham to Christ, this book reveals a pattern. God never intended scarcity. God never mandated smallness. God never glorified survival. He created you for dominion, productivity, influence, and generational impact. But here's the important part. The book is not yet released, and before we make it available publicly, I want to open the doors for those who are hungry, ready, and positioned to join the waiting list. And to reward early action, I'm giving something special. The first 50 people who join the waiting list and purchase the book on release day will receive the full audiobook version completely free. That's right, buy the physical or digital book on release day, and if you're among the first 50 buyers from the waiting list, the professionally narrated audiobook is yours at no cost. This will allow you to not only read the revelation, but also hear it, meditate on it, and carry it with you as you rise into a new economic reality. Join the waiting list today, be among the first to receive Kingdom Economics when it launches, and secure your chance to receive the audiobook absolutely free. This book will challenge you, stretch you, correct you, elevate you, and align you with God's original design for your life. Your future is calling, your assignment is calling, and creation is groaning for what you will build next. Join the waiting list now and be one of the first 50 to claim the free audiobook when Kingdom Economics is released.
Hey there, entrepreneurs! If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne, and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.